It's a simple question with a complex answer. How much more are you willing to pay for essentially the same keyboard? I'm Rio Gion and welcome to Rio Gion Keyboards. If you were to take out the macro keys, 3 buttons to the left, the like bar, then both keyboards are pretty much identical, well except one has a sexier dark silver finish. The ISO layout on both of these keyboards can prove to be a problem if you want to customize your keyboard with the aftermarket keycaps, but Corsair did release their own custom keycap sets, so if you feel like spending more money, then I have the link below to those keycap sets in the description box. I love the design of this keyboard, and quite frankly, so does the rest of the market. That's why there are so many Chinese clone keyboards that have this floating key design, and even Razer, one of their biggest competitors, have one as well. Both keyboards have dedicated media controls, volume wheel, Windows lock, but the K95 gives you macro buttons and a profile switcher because the K95 have onboard storage. I think the K70 would be more office friendly because it doesn't have the texture macro keycaps that really pops out when you glance at the keyboard. I know why Corsair decided to go with a more gamer focused font for these keyboards, but I really like the older, more professional style font from the previous generation of these keyboards. The one thing I would say is I do miss the like bar from the K95 after switching back to the K70. I know some people might find it very gimmicky, but I love it nevertheless. If you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, then you gotta hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications for the latest content. Both keyboards uses authentic MX switches on this particular comparison, so we have brown and we got speed. But you can get speed on the K70 and you can get brown on the K95. Instead of the usual way of doing the videos, I'm gonna clump up some of the segments because they're essentially the same thing. The switches you see on the comparison, you can get them on both keyboards. They both have cherry stabilizers and they both have the same keycaps. The lights is under the switch, which I like very much because to me it means you won't be hitting the lights when you press the keys. Cherry stabilizers to me is better than Corsair because I hate having to deal with the metal wires and those little friggin' plastic pieces when I want to replace longer keycaps. One thing to note is that you can get Cherry MX Reds on the K70, which some might say it's the inferior version than the speed, but that's debatable, so I'm going to leave that to the comments section. I think Corsair is bringing back RGB blue because I seen it on the new K68 RGB, but you lose the metal plating and the USB pass-through, which I cannot live without. So here's hoping they bring back MX blue on the K70 and K95. The wrist rest game is stronger on the K95, but not by much because both wrist rests are still made of hard plastic and have those small little plastic hooks on them that breaks pretty friggin' easily. The reason why the K95 takes the win is because it has replaceable coating, so if you don't like the texture on one side, then you can just flip it on to the next one. If you don't like the textures on both sides, then it's time to buy another wrist rest. To be honest, the wrist rest is the weakest component for both of these keyboards, especially for the K95, because they could have made it magnetic or they could have used foam like Razer. If you want to comment something like they can't do it, then look at the Viper V770. Not only that the wrist rest is magnetic, it's also RGB as well. The K95 could have done something like that, but I get the feeling that they cheap out, so it's up to you to comment down below and tell me how wrong I am. The K70 has 4 flip-up feet instead of 2, and I think it really makes the keyboard stand out because you can lift the entire keyboard up. The same can't be said with the K95, which is a shame because it should have this and then some. But at least you have cable management slots for your headphones, which some may argue that it's more useful than 4 flip-up feet, but the K95 should have both since it's a flagship model. Both keyboards have USB pass-through, which is awesome because I use a lot. Since the K95 for cable management slots for headphones, I think they should include audio pass-through, but personally I never used the audio pass-through myself, so I can't complain, but you can certainly comment down below. Both keyboards have thick braided cables and silver plated USB. For some reason I think the K95 should have gold, but I remember that none of the Corsair keyboards have gold plated to begin with, unless I'm wrong. You can't talk about RGB keyboards without mentioning the lighting, and the lighting for both of them is fan-freaking-tastic. Especially the K95 with that RGB like bar. Personally, I don't use the macro buttons, so the money for me goes towards that like bar. If there is some part of me that wants to justify that's worth spending the extra money, but a more reasonable side of me is saying that it's simply not worth the asking price. Either way, both keyboards shine brightly at night, and the K95 wins because of that like bar. But you are paying more for it, so does it really consider a win? The software is the same with both keyboards because of obvious reasons. The one thing that I noticed was how seamless the translation was with custom lighting profiles I have on my K70 to the K95. I didn't even need to change any settings. When I plug in the K95, the lighting profiles pop right up, which is very nice. The one thing I really like about the software is the community that stands behind it. There's always new custom lighting profiles for you to download and show off to your friends, which I'll admit it, I like to show off my keyboards to my friends because 1, I like my keyboards a lot, and 2, I want to get them to join the Mechanical Keyboard Master Race. A few ways to get more members. 1, post videos like this on YouTube and share them on social media with the hopes of people clicking on my friggin' videos. 2, invite people over, show them mechanical keyboards and have them play with it so that they can see how awesome it is. 3, go up to random strangers and talk about mechanical keyboards like it's the friggin' holy Bible. I'm just kidding, I don't really do 3 that much, and you can insert jokes in the comments down below. I will read them, I promise. Anyways, I really dig the software that Corsair has because it's actually user friendly now, and you always get updates, which is something that the non-mainstream mechanical keyboards they just don't have it. The typing experience boils down to what switch you're using, and I have to say the MX speed on the K95 deserves some cred because it's not bad of a typer despite it being a linear switch. I like the K95 comparing to other linear switch because it feels nice to type, the strokes are smooth, and the transitions are fluid. I feel like I'm flying through the keyboard when I type on the K95. The K70, which is now my daily driver, and I know, shame on me for not having a blue switch, after the break-in period, the keystrokes doesn't feel as scratchy at all like some other brown switch keyboards. The switch actually feels a little bit lighter, which could just be me going insane to the membrane, but with keyboards, I really love typing on my K70. I might even go as far as saying I like it more than some of the blue switch keyboards that I have reviewed. I know. I feel like I'm committing a crime when I say that, but man, this my K70 feels good to type on. There isn't a winner here because you can get the speed switches on the K70, you can get the brown switches on the K95, so it's really up to you to pick the switch that you want. Keep in mind, I don't think the K95 with the brown switches come in this sexy dark silver finish, which is a shame. At the end of the day, the K95 is just a better keyboard with pretty much all situations because you get the extra bank of macro keys, and it's just more ideal for MMO gamers and video editors. RTS gamers might want the K95 more if they need that extra bank of macro keys. For typists, I would go with the brown switch just because I still think it types better, but the speed switch here is no slouch. Now comes the verdict. Because this is a comparison, I have to pick the winner, and it boils down to 2 things: price and the things I want to do with my keyboard. Price is always subject to change, and I will provide links to both of those keyboards in the description down below. You can expect to find the K95 at $200 and the K70 at $160. Now those are both retail prices, so that means you can certainly find them at lower prices if you constantly click on the links that I have below. So here's the moment that you have all been waiting for. I'm going with the K70 because I just can't justify paying the extra $40 for a light bar. I don't use the macro keys and the wrist rest, also cable management slots, so it's really just the light bar for me and that sexy dark silver finish if I'm doing the speed switches, which I would go with the brown switch because it just feels better. I would swing for the K95 if they have the dark silver finish with the MX brown switches because I really dig that K95 look, and having that dark silver finish is one of the key factors in my decision making process. Also that light bar, but $40 extra retail, $40 extra, I don't know. Comment down below and tell me, of the 2 keyboards, which ones would you buy and why? If you made it this far and you haven't subscribed yet, you gotta hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to become part of the mighty notification squad. As always, have an awesome day.